Hello, it's Kati and Nicole again, and today we are introducing a proposal paper.
Now, what we want to do first is show you where you are in the semester as far as the different writing projects are concerned. The first thing you did with your divisive issue was fully explain the issue itself and how different sides or different groups of people feel about the issue in your report paper. Then in your position paper, you chose a side and argued for it as being the best side or the best approach to the divisive issue. And now you're going to write a proposal paper.
The proposal paper, the idea or the spirit behind writing a proposal paper is to argue for change or a solution to a problem or part of the problem that you addressed, focused on, and argued for, positioned for in the position paper.
Now, the best way to think about a proposal is that you are trying to show that you understand the issue well enough that you can now propose a way to fix part of the problem or all of the problem in a proposal paper. There are a few elements that we want you to make sure you cover in the proposal paper. The first thing is a brief explanation of the problem. We know that you did this in the report, but it will be helpful to your readers to contextualize what problem you're addressing. A lot of your topics that you've chosen are huge, and so you need to say, this is the problem. And then from there, you need to go into a little bit more detail about what specific aspect of your issue that you intend to propose a change for. After that, you need to contextualize what types of solutions are already out there, what things have been tried or what things have been proposed as ways to change or improve the issue that you've been talking about.
Following that would be your statement of the solution, or what solution or change you think would be best to propose. Now that's essentially your thesis statement for the proposal paper. So in the position paper, your thesis statement was making a claim and offering a list of reasons for why that claim is valid. In the proposal paper, you state what your solution is. Specifically, you want to avoid all possible vagueness because others could poke holes in how your solution will or won't work, why it's weak, why theirs is better. So make sure that your statement is clear. And then you'll list some reasons that the solution will work or propose ideas directly related to the proposal statement.
Your argument skills will come into play again here because you're going to be arguing for why this is the best solution to your problem. You don't need to go into too much detail on that because the objective of this paper is to detail the proposal. But you do need to say this proposal is best because of, and then list your reasons for why you think this is going to work. After that, you move into talking about specifically how you envision your change happening. And so that leads you into the instruction part of your paper. You will need to write instructions as if you were a person who had the power to make these changes, or if you were talking directly to a person who had the power to make these changes. You're going to detail how you would do it. What's step one? What do you do first? What do you do second? What do you do third? In your instructions chapter of your textbook, you'll get more information about how to write instructions so that a reader or a listener can take those instructions and just use them right away.
When you're writing your proposal and when you're writing the instruction section of your proposal paper, you need to keep in mind the costs, the benefits, possible weaknesses, or other things that you need to take into account that might prohibit parts of your proposed solution from happening or creating difficulties in implementing the plan. You also need to figure out troubleshooting mechanisms that your readers can use or that people that would adopt your proposed idea might use in case they run into problems. And you also need to add or at least consider warnings involving your instructions.
Right. All good proposals include different options for failure. So, if you're ever writing instructions for, how to program a VCR or something like that, people who write those instructions consider potential pitfalls that the users could fall into. And they account for these by saying, don't do this, or make sure you do this, or, make sure the power is off, or whatever. And you need to do something of that sort in your instructions as well. We are talking about anticipating, problems with the solution or processes that would need to be in place or something that would need to be changed. Just try to anticipate, do a lot of thinking about this before you start writing your paper, and try to anticipate how a person in power to make your changes would use your instructions and what kind of problems would they run into as they were trying to do that.
One of your later posts for this section specifically deals with trying to read instructions that might not be very clear and follow them, and then revising those instructions to account for possible supply problems, specificity problems, or
process, problems being in the right order.
Missing steps, and accounting for different people having to use these instructions based on their possible beliefs, culture, diet, which you'll understand that a little bit more later. And then you'll revise those instructions to account for all of those things. That assignment is meant to help you understand the importance of writing clear, specific, and helpful instructions in order for your readers to execute the instructions that you've laid out for them.
Okay, now the final thing you need to consider when writing your proposal paper is your audience, and this is extremely important. Audience consideration is a major part of all of your papers in this class because that helps you define your purpose and define your goals and choose your words, choose your evidence. In the proposal paper, how that looks is that you are choosing to write to someone who has the power to enact the changes that you are suggesting. So you need to make sure you are covering things that they will need to know, but at the same time, you have another audience who's also listening, and that's called the stakeholding audience.
The stakeholding audience can be part of your primary audience. But in general, your stakeholding audience will be all of those that might be affected by your proposed solution or your proposed change. So if you're focusing on illegal immigration, you need to consider not only the people in power that can implement your plan, but you also need to consider illegal immigrants in the equation. You need to consider people in the community where there are large numbers of illegal immigrants, possibly the healthcare community.
Family members who are legal.
There's a wide array of stakeholders that make up your stakeholding audience. So you need to account for them, and with that, troubleshoot and possibly make exceptions, or at least validate that people will be affected by what you're proposing by accounting for it in the paper.
One last thing to consider also is that when you are writing about your instructions, go ahead and write it in instruction format. You don't need to stick with the strict paragraph format that most of your papers will follow in this class. You can go ahead and delineate by steps because you want to make it clear that you are instructing at that point. So that's a little format change that you're going to notice as you write this paper.
Yeah, you can also try bullets and numbering to help as well. So you can demarcate the proposal from the instruction section while at the same time merging the two in the conclusion. In your conclusion for the proposal paper, you're going to recap why the proposed solution is the best, reinforce that idea, and possibly call for action from your readers and maybe even your stakeholding audience. It depends on how you decide to take the proposed solution.
Right. So just remember that in your conclusion you are finally calling for implementation of whatever changes you talked about, and you just kind of conclude the whole idea with hope for making a change in the future.
In the conclusion, you might also want to include the call for action, but with that call for action, possible indicators of what might happen if no action is taken or if your specific action isn't taken. Finally, to recap the component parts of the proposal paper, you need to identify the problem, and then you need to state a solution. Then you need to convince your readers that your solution is fabulous and better than all of the others that are already out there or might be in the process of being considered.
Right.
Demonstrate the feasibility of the proposed solution. That's a good place to include your instructions. And then make sure that after you've combined all of these things together, make sure that you're focusing on your primary audience and your stakeholding audience. You cannot forget your stakeholding audience in a proposal paper.
Look for more detailed instructions about the proposal paper in your assignment description and in your grading rubric. And remember that all the posts you'll be doing in the proposal section will help you gain the skills necessary to write this.